with me for a while, as I have many stories to tell. Now, today's show is from Angels on Earth, the May-June edition, 1998, page 34. It was written by Jane Mitchell, and the title is Never Alone. Let's begin. Every night, Jeremy cried himself to sleep. On our refrigerator is a crayon drawing of an angel with curly hair and blue eyes. And whenever things seem too much to handle, I look at it and I recall how much my family, especially my grandson Jeremy, has overcome. He was only 2 years old when my daughter Mary took him and his 4-year-old sister Sarah and left an abusive alcoholic husband in 1989. Shortly after settling into their own apartment, Mary began feeling so tired she couldn't keep up with the basic household tasks. Soon she and the kids had to move in with her father Frank and me. While the doctors tried to figure out what was wrong, I thought perhaps she was overwhelmed by all she had been through and just needed some rest. But the doctors made a devastating discovery. Mary suffered from a fatal muscle disease. Mary fought hard to keep caring for the children, just as I threw all of my energy into caring for her. She dragged herself to school functions, even though she was too tired to dress herself, and gave the children baths till she couldn't muster the strength to turn on the faucet. She was losing the power in all of her muscles. The children instinctively understood and were always ready to clean up around the house or bring her a glass of water. Sarah, the little one, slept with her every night, and Mary's lap seemed the only place where bubbly Jeremy would sit still. It was a struggle to coax the children to leave her, even to go to school. Mary would watch them through the window till they were out of sight. But one morning, when I came into her room after the kids had gone and Frank was off to work, Mary was not in her usual spot. I found her huddled under her blanket, sobbing so hard she could hardly catch her breath. And I said, "What is it, honey?" Thinking she was in pain, I began to scan the pills arrayed on the night table, wondering what medicine might help her. Gasping, she said, "The children told me this morning." And I waited for her to collect herself. And she said, "All this time I thought their father only took out his temper on me, Mom. But oh, I was so wrong. He hurt them too. Oh, why didn't I leave him sooner?" I sat on the bed and pulled her tenderly into my lap. And I said, "You're here now, sweetie. You're with us." Oh, how well I understood the helplessness she felt, unable to protect her own children. Oh, how I wished I could wrap her in my arms and shield her always from the past that had caused her so much pain, and from the future that would bring her so much more. By the summer of 1993, Mary was on oxygen around the clock, her entire body swollen due to medication. And when she fell asleep, I sat facing the window, where the glow of the streetlight filtered through the sheer curtains in the shape of a cross, and I prayed for strength. One afternoon, Mary looked me in the eyes and she said, "Mom, I'm not going to be here much longer. What are we going to do about the children?" I took her hand. "I promise you, honey, Sarah and Jeremy will never be hurt again. I promise you." Barely a month later, on an August morning, I drove Mary to the doctor for a regular appointment. Her doctor says she should go straight to the hospital, but she insisted on going home first to see the children. When the ambulance arrived for Mary, the children, now 8 and 6, wrapped her weak arms around them, not wanting her to let go of them. And at the hospital, the doctors gave her fluids, oxygen, and painkillers, but she just kept getting worse. Before I knew it, the flurry of white coats ended, and I held my daughter as she took her last breath. In the car on the way home, I felt as if a fog had rolled into my mind, shrouding out every thought but one. How could I tell the children? Sarah and Jeremy were sprawled on their mother's empty bed, drawing pictures, and I sat down between them. Jeremy, Sarah, Grandma has something to tell you. I took a deep breath and gathered them in gently close to me. Mommy won't be coming home. She's gone to heaven. Sarah recoiled from my touch, screaming, "No, Mommy's not gone." It took some time for Frank and me to calm her. When I turned to find little Jeremy, I saw him curled up in the corner, his picture of Ninja Turtles lying nearby, the bright crayon colors dulled by his tears. The next couple of weeks, Frank and I went through the motions, accepting condolences, making arrangements, talking little except to soothe the children. The initial outpouring of sympathy from friends and neighbors gradually tapered off, and we were left alone with our grief. I woke the morning the kids were to return to school, just wanting to pull the covers over my head and stay in that bed forever. "Come on, Jane," Frank shook me gently. "First day of school. We have to get the kids up." And I thought, yeah, he's right. The children need me. I have to keep on, keeping on. When Sarah and Jeremy left, I watched him from the windows as my Mary used to do. That afternoon, I asked Jeremy, "So how was first grade? What did you do today, honey?" And he showed me a gray page from his writing tablet with the words, "I love my mom. She was the best mom in the world. I miss my mom." When I tucked him in bed that night, he lay facing the wall weeping. I turned him over and I stroked his hair. He rubbed his eyes with his fist and he said, "I miss Mommy's lap." I laid down and put my arms around him, unable to hold back my own tears. And I said, "I know, Jeremy. I miss her too." Both kids got counseling to help them deal with the abuse they suffered and their mother's death. It seemed Sarah was slowly getting back to normal, but not my Jeremy. Give it time, I told myself. But weeks turned into months, and Jeremy continued to cling to me during the day and crying every single night. I was overwhelmed by the same helplessness I had felt watching my Mary waste away. Jeremy was in more pain than ever, and there was nothing I could do. I went to bed each night with his sobs echoing in my ears, feeling like a failure for not being able to keep my promise to my daughter. One day, Jeremy's teacher called. "His grades keep getting worse," she said, "and he has crying spells in class, when nothing I can say can comfort him." "Oh, I wish I could figure what to do for him," the teacher said. Me too, I thought. I looked at Jeremy's drawings displayed on the refrigerator door, and there was Mary's grave, hearts with the word Mom in them, and he and his mother walking hand in hand. And I said, "Oh God, please, we can't go on like this." That night, when I went to his room to dry his tears, I said, "Jeremy, I know how sad you are about Mommy, but maybe it would help to remember the good times we had with her. What do you remember?" His face lit up, and he said, "She bought me Ninja Turtles." And then I thought, how long has it been since I have done anything special for him? So the next day, I began taking him on more outings. He seemed to be happy for a while, but then something would set him off, like an old photograph of his mother, Mary, or friends talking about their moms, and the crying fits would start up all over again. Why, he barely passed the first grade, and I could feel him being swept away by a sorrow that was too big for him and me to fight. One summer night, I sat in the family room looking through a parenting magazine for ideas on how to reach Jeremy. I closed it as he padded up to me in his pajamas. His face was puffy and red, and he said, "Grandma, I want to go to be with my mommy right now." And I gave him a hug, and I said, "Sweetheart, I want to see her too, but she's in heaven." And then Jeremy said, "I want to die so I can be with her now." I held him away from me and squeezed his bony little arms, and I said, "Honey, listen to me. You can't. It's not your time to go to heaven yet." And he said, "I miss my mommy." I took him back to bed. "And Jeremy," I said, smoothing the blanket around him, "I know I'm not your mommy. I love you, though, and I promise to help you. Truly I will." I returned to the family room and sat in my old spot facing the cross of light and the curtains, and I said, "Father, you promised you wouldn't give us more than we could handle. Well, this little boy has been abused, and he's lost his mother. And oh, Father, he's so young, and he can't handle it by himself. He can't." Then, suddenly, without warning, I heard Jeremy's voice faintly calling, and I raced to his room, and he said, "Grandma, come here." He motioned for me to sit next to him on the bed, and I noticed his eyes were shining, though not with tears. "Grandma," he whispered, "I saw my guardian angel." "What?" "He was floating right over my bed, Grandma." And I asked, "What did he look like?" "He had on a shiny white robe, and his hair was curly, and his eyes were really blue, and he had wings, Gram." I never heard Jeremy so serious or so confident, and I asked, "Did he say anything?" "Yes, he said God was watching over me, Gram." "Yes, he is, Jeremy," I said softly, "and so am I." Jeremy was so very peaceful during the following weeks. But when it came time for him to start second grade, I wondered about whether the change would hold. Then one afternoon his teacher called, "Mrs. Mitchell, I just want to let you know that the students handed in papers for an essay contest." I thought, oh no, picturing another writing tablet full of "I miss my mommy." Jeremy wrote about an experience he had this summer when he saw his guardian angel. His paper was selected as the winner from the entire second grade. I knew then that things had turned truly around for my grandson. 4 years later, the angel Jeremy drew for the cover of his essay remains on my refrigerator door. I have come to think of Jeremy's angel as my angel too. He is a reminder that God does keep his promises, and he will help me to keep mine too. Although the name was changed in the story to protect the privacy of the authors, these are the real pages of the prize-winning essay written by the author's grandson when he was in the second grade. It's entitled, "My Guardian Angel." My guardian angel visited me one night in my room. His eyes were light blue, and there were like glass inside them. He had a golden ring above his head, and this angel had a lot of light, and beautiful brown hair and peach lips. He had on a robe with a belt around it, and he was barefoot. And then my guardian angel told me God was with me. He came to my room 3 times, and he said he would come to me again, but he hasn't yet, and I hope he comes again really soon. He made me feel glad and new. Now I know I have a guardian angel. Jeremy.